So, as usual, let us dedicate this presentation to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And join me with the Mangala Charan and Guru Pranam Mantra. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swaha Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Shrato Pangur Mama Manda Matirgati Vatsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohana Divyadvrindaranyo kalpadrumadaha Srimatratnagado simhasanosto Srimatrada Srila Govinda Devo Sprastali Vihi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasarasarambi Vamsivata Statastitaha Karshan Venur Sanair Gopir Gopinata Shristunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Nigamakalpatarorgalitam phalam Sukamukad Amritadravya Samyutam Vivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhurahur Rasika Bhuvi Bhavakaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamadine Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangre Tvai me Ananda Vishaya Matir Madhupati Asakrit Ratim Mudvahatad Ada Gange Baudam Mudanvati. O Madhupati, Lord of sweetness, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Narasimha Namini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayitim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Ramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna everyone, welcome back to our Srimad Bhagavatam session. So let's begin. So we are trying to finish chapter 12 today. So chapter 12 is birth of Emperor Parikshit. So very quick recap. So what we have heard previously, we heard about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, and Yudhishthira Maharaj, the grandfather, he was very, very pleased, and he gave, he had a samskara, a ceremony to, Jatakarma samskara. That's the ceremony they have at the time of birth of a child, and they gave. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was known as Tirthavit, one who knows perfectly how to give charity at the right time, right place, and to the right persons for the right cause. So therefore, he was known as Tirthavit, one who is expert in giving charity. And he gave charity to all the brahmanas, and in this way pleased the brahmanas, and the brahmanas were also very happy to tell Maharaj Yudhishthira about the future activities of the child. So they were expert astrologers, so they could, brahmanas, so they were able to uh, very nicely mention all the different qualities. So Yudhishthira Maharaj also wanted to hear it very eagerly. So from verses 12, 18 to 29, it talks about all the various qualities of Parikshit Maharaj, the child, which is yet to come, as will be foretold in this astrology session. And we have not completed that. So today we will continue with some of the other qualities. So these were the qualities. We discussed 7 of the qualities. So the first quality was this child will be maintaining all the living entities, just like how Ikshvaku Maharaj, the son of Manu, how he maintained all the living entities. Manu was the original king of the Bharat Bhumi, and just like him, Parikshit Maharaj will also be a king who will maintain not only human beings, all living entities in this world. And then we heard the second quality in following Brahminical principles. So he will be a righteous king. Not only he will maintain everything correctly, because anyone could maintain just for the sake of power, but this personality will maintain at the same time, he will also uphold Brahminical principles, especially truthfulness, just like Lord Ram. And then he will be very charitable. So Kshatriyas or kings, they should be very charitable. Wouldn't we want to live in a kingdom where the king is very, very charitable? So in the same way, just like how Maharaj Shibi, we heard about the story of Maharaj Shibi, how he was willing to even sacrifice himself for the sake of charity of his subjects to give protection. And then we also heard how he would expand the name and fame of his family and his ancestry, just like how Bharat Maharaj, son of Dushyanta, did so. So we heard his story also previously. And on top of that, he will have great prowess. He will be a great bowman, just like Arjuna. So during Arjuna's time, he was the best bowman in the world, and not only in the world, in basically in all the 3 worlds. Even the heavenly kingdoms requested his help. We also heard about the glories of Arjuna, how he impressed Lord Shiva, how he pleased all the other devatas and protected them. Then, and he will be irresistible, just like fire. So his enemies will find him irresistible, cannot resist, and he will be very attractive, just like fire. And at the same time, he'll be unsurpassable, so enemies cannot overcome him, just like how the ocean is unsurpassable. Therefore he will be like that also. So we heard these qualities. So today we will hear some more qualities, and at the end of this chapter we will hear the events following Maharaj Parikshit's birth. What else happened after that to close the chapter? So the Brahmanas continue their narration of the astrology. So then they say the child will be Mrigendra Eva Vikranto. He will be Mriga. Mriga Indra. Mriga means animal. Indra means king of the animals. So who's the king of the animal? The lion. So he will be just like the lion uh, in chasing down the enemy. So once he sets his sight on what needs to be done, what needs to be removed, what needs to be defeated, he will not let it go. So a lion is something like that. So here you can see an amazing picture of a lion taking down uh, an elephant. So in those days, the lions used to be even bigger. So now there are some species of lions which have gone extinct. There is the cave lion, which was quite large. It used to live in the caves and in India, in Asia, but that lion has gone extinct now already. Nowadays, we see smaller lions. But anyway, those days they were there and very, very powerful. So Prabhupada comments that in chasing down the enemy, if somebody chases down the enemy unrelentlessly and achieves victory, even though the enemy is larger or powerful, he still bravely goes and chases down that enemy without fear, then he is to be compared like the lion. So Maharaj Parikshit, this child, will be like that. Excuse me. And Prabhupada said, yes, lion is a nice quality, but he makes a nice statement. One should be a lamb at home and a lion in the chase. So we shouldn't be showing our lion nature in amongst people who we love. So that lion nature should be reserved for the enemy. Just like how Narsinghadev came, no? Lord Vishnu, always sweet smiling, you know, and when he came as Narasinghadev, even Lakshmi, his consort, couldn't recognize, is this my husband? Oh, so fearful. So that kind of visage is reserved for the enemies. So therefore, this is how one's nature should be. So amongst devotees, amongst loved ones, amongst family members, we should be very meek and humble, just like a lamb. And we should reserve our prowess. All this we should show to the enemy. Good advice. Similarly, the head of the state should never fail in chasing an enemy. So Maharaj Parikshit is going to be a king. He's not an ordinary child. So especially for a Kshatriya and a king, this is a very important quality, right? One should not be lenient towards enemies, especially if they are going to destroy Dharma. One should be very strict in this. A king should not allow, there should be no compromise. And that is important in order to uphold Dharma. The child will be Nisevyo Himavan Iva. In giving shelter, he will be like the mighty Himalayas. So Prabhupada comments, Prabhupada comments, Himalayas are amazing place. This is where, you'll find so many caves, amazing trees. In fact, some trees and some herbs, it's so rare, you could only find in growing in the Himalayas. And they have amazing curing properties, health properties. People who live in these regions usually live for a very, very long time. Amazing clean air, pure water, right? Many of the holy rivers uh, originate from this source of the Himalayas. Like we have Gangotri, where Ganga flows, Yamunotri. So like that, there are many, many origins of holy rivers coming down. And sages usually go there. So they all take shelter. So profuse of minerals, drugs, plants, herbs, so this is a shelter giving place. So Prabhupada said, any man who is not materially prosperous can take shelter of these great mountains and he will be provided with everything required. Interesting statement. We should think about that. Anyway, moving on, the child will be Titikshur Vasudevaswav. Titikshur Vasu. Titiksha comes from the word Titiksha, means to tolerate. So in tolerance, this child will be like the earth. So the earth is very, very saintly personality. She's Bhuma Devi. She's mother. Just like how the mother tolerates a child and many children. Sometimes, they will say someone may hate a person like anything, but no matter how much the whole world hates that person, that's one person who will love that person still, even despite all kinds of bad qualities, and that's the mother. So not that she tolerates. So the earth bears liars, all kinds of bad population. It bears bad environment, pollution, even atomic bombs. People, they misuse. Now the word comes, the capitalist movement is raping the earth of resources, simply for the sake of a few rich people. So despite all that, the earth tolerates and bears. So in tolerance, one should be just like the earth. Titikshur Vasudha. Vasudha is another name for Bhuma Devi. So just like Vasudha, one should be tolerant. And Sahishnu Pitarav Iva. So when it comes to forbearance, Titiksha means to forbear and to tolerate. Sahishnu is also similar to that word. There is a slight subtle difference. Uh, so Sahishnu is like how a parent tolerates even naughty children. So the earth bears all kinds of things, and the parent tolerate all kinds of problems. Sometimes the children cause them, yet they still tolerate and they still love their children. So like that, Sahisnu Pitarav Eva. So the example is like your own. So here Pitarav. Pitarav means your parents or your parents. So who are the parents of the child? Right? So of course Uttara and Abhimanyu, but Abhimanyu is left. He's left his body. He's been killed in battle. So who else takes the position of parents then? So the Pandavas themselves take up the position of parents. So just like how the Pandavas were very, very tolerant, and the parent of the Pandavas, Kunti Maharani, was also very tolerant. So when the Pandavas, they were ill treated in so many ways by Dhritarashtra. Although Dhritarashtra was supposed to protect them, the Pandavas, since young, they lost their father, and then seeking shelter of their uncle, they came to stay. But the uncle instead, some listened to the bad advice of his son Duryodhana and ill treated them, tried to kill them in so many ways, and even sent them out. So here we have a picture of the Pandavas robbed of their kingdom and sent away to live as beggars in the forest. And together with her, together with them, Kunti Maharani, the mother. So the Kunti Maharani, during the exile, the Pandavas went in exile. Kunti Maharani didn't accompany them because she was already very elderly, and she was advised by Gandhari and a few others, and Bhishma and Yudhishthira Maharaj also begged her, so please to stay in the palace while they go to the forest. So Kunti Maharani, she couldn't bear it. She stayed in the palace. Every day she'd be thinking about what her children were going to go through. Every day she'll be feeling anxious due to the political intrigue hatched by Duryodhana, and she will hear about this, and it was like a living torture daily, right? So she tolerated all that, though all this was caused. I mean, these problems were all befell their children, but still Kunti Maharani tolerated all these things. So this child will be very tolerant, very forbearing, just like a parent towards their child. And further qualities, in equanimity of mind, sama, equanimity, that means very equipoised mind, balanced against happiness, distress, very equipoised. When it comes to equanimity of mind, he is like the greatest of all sages, the Brahmanas. He's like Lord Brahma, Pitamaha. Pitamaha is the grandfather. So here the grandfather refers to the grandfather of all living entities, and that is Brahma. But some other commentaries, some other acharyas also explain that it can also mean his own grandfather, the Pandavas. So Arjuna, Yudhishthira, so especially particularly Yudhishthira Maharaj. Because when it came to equanimity of mind, Yudhishthira Maharaj showed excellent example. When Draupadi was being disrobed, right? He was very equipoised. He understood that this is all by the will of the Lord. In such a situation, such a tense situation, when all the other brothers were all very tensed and were wanting to, in the verge of breaking Dharma in order to protect Draupadi, but Yudhishthira Maharaj was very fixed in his mind about what is Dharma. So he did not do anything. He understood that there's nothing I can do. Everything that could be done was already done. And this is particularly so that's how we can understand things. When things, situations go against our way, sometimes we go through things, we try our best. After trying our best, still things go against our way. So then we have to understand this is by the will of the Lord, right? So this is the will of destiny. So we have to now, the Lord has given us this test. So we have to pass that test in a way which will please the Lord according to our reaction. So, keeping all this in mind. So then, so Maharaj Yudhishthira is another example, Brahma and Maharaj Yudhishthira. So then in munificence, Prasade, munificence, he is like Giri Isha, Girisha. So Lord Shiva is known as the Lord of the mountain. Giri means mountain, Isha means the Lord. So when it comes to munificence, munificence means someone who's very, very magnanimous, very easily pleased, very easily he will give whatever somebody wants. So that's the nature of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, one of his names is Ashu and another name is Prashu. Ashutosh and Prashutosh. So Ashutosh and Prashutosh means one who is very easily pleased and one who is also very easily angered. So this is the nature of Lord Shiva. So, and he, by his own sweet will, he presides, he embraces material nature, Maya Devi, Durga, and in this way he becomes the Lord of the mode of ignorance. So he controls over the mode of ignorance and he accepts the mode of ignorance by his own sweet will. So therefore he has this nature. So the demons like to worship him because he easily grants whatever they want, whether it's good for them or not. Whatever they want, he just grants them. So he's known as very easily pleased. But there is a danger because Lord Shiva is also very easily displeased. There are many examples, many stories. Uh, the, uh, there are in Bhagavatam. There are many stories. Like for example, the Daksha battle. How very quickly he destroyed Daksha, the son of Brahma. He sometimes even attacks. He attacked Lord Brahma also in once in a while, and then But this is his nature. He's transcendental, but he's very, very munificent. So very easy to please. So here we see his munificent nature. Hmm. So in that he will be just like Lord Shiva. And in terms of resort, giving shelter and resort to all living entities, Ashraya Sarva Bhutanam. That means a place to surrender, a place to rest. So giving rest to all, giving a place of shelter to all living beings, he is just like he's just like Lord Narayana. So Narayana, you know, uh, another name for Narayana is Ramashraya. This is not Rama, this is Rama. Rama is another name for the goddess of fortune. Like one of the names of Lakshmi is Rama Devi. So Rama Ashraya, that means the shelter of Rama Devi. So who is the shelter of Rama Devi? Where do we see Rama Devi? Rama Devi will always be at the feet of Lord Vishnu, isn't it? In Narayana position. So this is a nice picture of Jalashyana Vishnu in the Buddhi Nilakanta temple in Nepal. It's very large deity. The head itself is as big as a human being's, it's quite large. A human being is probably just this size only, right? Very, very beautiful, lying in a lake. So this temple is there in Nepal. If you have the fortune, can visit that place. And so basically, Lord Narayana is known as the shelter of all living entities. So Lakshmi Devi, she's extremely fortune. She's goddess of fortune. When she first emerged from the milk ocean, at that time, everyone desired Lakshmi Devi to accept them as their husband. But Lakshmi Devi had eyes for nobody else. She only had eyes for the best of all person worthy of shelter. So she looked for the best person who would give best shelter. And she could find no one there except Lord Vishnu. So she accepted Lord Vishnu as her husband and garlanded him. So in this way, just like how the goddess of fortune has taken shelter of the Lord, Lord Narayana, in the same way, Parikshit Maharaj will give shelter to all the other living entities. And in terms of Sarva Sat Guna Mahatmye, in achieving great saintly attributes, he will be just like one who follows Krishna. Or in another word, is it can also be interpreted in a different way. By following the footsteps of Krishna, he achieves great saintly attributes. So, two ways of understanding this verse. Sarva Sadguna Mahatme Krishnam Anuvritaha. By he will achieve great saintly attributes, just like the devotees of Krishna, or he will achieve great saintly attributes simply by following the instructions or the footsteps of Lord Krishna. So, like there are many devotees who have great saintly qualities. So, for example, Lord Brahma himself, great saintly qualities. Lord Shiva, another wonderful personality with great saintly qualities. And Narada Muni, another example of all these are devotees of Lord Krishna. So, Lord Brahma worships Lord Krishna with so many beautiful prayers. He tells Lord Krishna, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridaleshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Krishna, who is Shama Sundar, three-bended form, beautiful as the dark monsoon cloud, bent in three forms, holding a flute. Uh, Simply by such a meditation of that personality, when one's eyes become tinged with the salve of love, and one worships the Lord in that way. So Brahma worships Lord Vishnu in that way. So many nice devotees here. We have Vyasadev, another great personality who's also achieved saintly attributes. Not forgetting the Pandavas, all having great saintly attributes, simply by the grace of Lord Krishna, by following the advice, instructions, and by worshipping Lord Krishna. Then we have other qualities. Udaraha, magnanimity. In magnanimity, he will be like Ranti Deva. So Ranti Deva, magnanimity means one who's very charitable, one who's very open in his heart. He doesn't think about himself. He always thinks about others. So in magnanimous. So King Ranti Deva, nice example in the scriptures. The story of King Ranti Deva is, I don't want to tell the long story, but the point is, he took a vow and he was fasting for many months. And after fasting for so long, the time for him to break the fast finally was coming. And when it finally was about the time to break fast, the Devatas wanted to test him. So Lord Indra, Lord Surya, Lord Chandra, all of them took different disguises, and they came and they begged from him food. So like that, one by one, just when he was about to eat and break his fast, they came and begged food. And then he without thinking, he happily gave, without any kind of qualm, without any negative thought in his heart at all, even little bit. He completely just gave away with a happy mood. So he gave them to, first a Brahmana came, and then like that, great people came, saints came, and he just gave. And then a beggar also came, a Shudra also came. So even to these people, he didn't consider caste, he didn't consider position, he still considered them higher compared to him. So he gave food to, and that is the proper position of a Kshatriya, of a king, and also of a Grihastha, one who is a householder. So if we are householders, if we all, we all have houses, we all have families, one of the main points of Grihastha, one of the main duties of Grihastha ashram is we should feed people who are in need. So if anyone comes to our house, if a guest comes to our house, the priority is for the guest. Whatever that's best in the house should first be given to the guest. And after the guest is completely satisfied, only then one should take one's own meal. So that is the in one of the duties, right? That's the amazing hospitality of the Vedic teachings. Very fine. So like that, then finally even a dog came at the end. A man who was a dog eater, he came begging for food. Oh, please give me some food. And even to him, without he was there was nothing left already. So that final piece of morsel, he kept just a small dot, just so that he will break his fast with that. And the remaining food he all gave to the person, the beggar. So finally, all of them revealed themselves and showed that we have tested you and you have passed the test and you are very, very amazing personality. You should one day, if you can read about the story of Ranti Deva. It's very, you can also, sometimes you can't find certain books. Amar Chitra Katha, the comic magazine from, you can, if you go to India, if you go to Indian shops, sometimes you can get that. So if you find anything on Ranti Deva, it's very nice. These are moral stories. And then when it comes to religiosity, he will be just like Maharaj Yayati. So this is another long story. But to cut it short, Maharaj Yayati, he performed so many duties simply for the sake of dharma or religiosity. Dharmikaha. For dharma kava, just for the sake of dharma, he did so many things. All his activities were such, all meant for that purpose. He was a great king, and at the end of his life, he was so dharmic in nature that he was elevated to heavenly kingdom in his existing body. So in his current human body itself, he was lifted to the heavenly planets, and he resided in the heavenly planets. So that is the nature of Maharaj Yayati. So just like him, this child Parikshit will also be dharmika. And then in patience, he will be just like Bali Maharaj. So why is Bali Maharaj very patient? So of course we know the story of Bali Maharaj. All these stories will also be recited in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We will find them in Srimad Bhagavatam in later cantos, right? So we will hear about them in later cantos, not now. So Bali Maharaj, to make the story short, he was the leader of the demons. But although he was the leader of the demons, he was righteous in his heart and he was pure in his heart. But though he was leader of the demons, so he did what needed to be done for the demons. He conquered against the devatas. He gave them great opulence, and he won over the heavenly planets for them. But because the devatas needed to be protected, they prayed, and Vamana Dev appeared. Lord Vishnu appeared as Vamana Dev, the dwarf incarnation, right? Upendra, one of the names of Vamana Dev, a dwarf incarnation. So very famous story. He asked for three. So Vamana, at the time when Bali Maharaj was having a great sacrifice, fire sacrifice. So that time, usually Brahmanas were welcomed and they will ask for charity. So Vamana Dev also came and he asked for charity, and he asked for 3 steps of land. So Bali Maharaj he didn't realize, he straight away gave, okay, I'll give you surely whatever you ask. Why just 3 steps? Ask more. And then Vamana Dev gave a long philosophical discussion. There was a nice discussion there. Okay, but anyway, long story short, Eventually, Vamanadev, by the 3 steps of land, he conquered. By first step, he conquered all the heavenly planets. Second step, he put his feet. Suddenly, he grew very large. This very short Brahmana, when he wanted to put the steps of his feet, suddenly he grew very large. And by the first step, he covered all the upper planetary systems. In the second step, he covered all the lower planetary systems. And in the third step, he asked Bali Maharaj, where can I put my third step? I've covered everything in creation. So then Bali Maharaj says, please use my head. I have nothing else to give. Since you have asked me for charity, I have only myself to give. Please take my head. So, but at that time, Sukracharya told him, don't. You should not have given these 3 vows. But he still decided, if I'm going to lose everything, I might as well lose it to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if he is really the Supreme Personality of Godhead, shouldn't everything belong to him anyway? So since he's asking, I'm giving it to him. So like that he gave, and Vamanadev put his feet on his head and pushed him down all the way to Patala Loka. So in this way, he won the heavenly planets for the Devatas, and he placed uh, Bali Maharaj as the king of Patala Loka, or was it Sutala Loka, one of the Lokas, lower planetary system. And to reward Bali Maharaj's devotion, Vamanadev personally promised him that I will come and be your doorkeeper. So Bali Maharaj was already transformed. He was feeling like, I've given up everything. Can I at least receive your lotus feet? So, and you have sent me to Sutala Loka, right? And I will have to live for so many years. And can you at least be with me? So then Vamanadev promised him, for your surrender, for your sacrifice, I will always be with you. So he came as doorkeeper, and personally he guarded Bali Maharaja's palace in return. And in this way, Bali Maharaj was always able to. So, but the point is, why he is patient is because he had to stay for a very long time until he was able to go back to Godhead. So, therefore, he remained very patient, and that's why he is known as one who is very patient. So similarly, Parikshit Maharaj will also be very, very patient. And in being a devotee of Krishna, he will be just like your best of devotees, Prahlad Maharaj. Krishna Sat Graha, devotee, to be the just like a devotee of Krishna, right? The best devotee of Krishna, you will be just like Prahlad Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj will be just like Prahlad Maharaj in, in manifesting all the devotional qualities. So this is the most important principle, to be a devotee of Krishna. So many other principles were there, so many other qualities were there. We heard about how one should be like the lion, one should be like the ocean, one should be like the fire. So all of these are, in one sense, material qualities, because they are, yes, they are dharmic, very, very dharmic, to give protection to others, to be charitable, to be it says my internet connection may be unstable. Okay, anyway, it's gone now. Right. So all these qualities, to be charitable, to be magnanimous, to give protection, to be patient, and to uphold dharma. So this is pleasing to the Lord. Upholding dharma is pleasing to the Lord if the purpose of upholding dharma is to please the Lord. But if one is simply upholding dharma, even then that is still pleasing to the Lord, because that is the Lord's desire. He wants dharma to be upheld. But someone may do so without any good notion for the Supreme Lord. Like, for example, someone may be very magnanimous, someone may be very charitable, but he doesn't care about the Supreme Lord. He is being magnanimous out of his own false ego, or out of his own whatever beliefs or purposes. So it's not for pleasing the Lord. So therefore, acharyas explain, these qualities are all, these qualities are all material, even though they are very wonderful qualities. And if there is one quality which is missing, then all these wonderful material qualities are as good as zeros. If we can collect lots of wonderful zeros, like somebody is magnanimous, okay, a big shiny zero. Somebody is religious, a big shiny zero. Patient, so like that we can collect so many zeros, right? But all these zeros will have meaning only if there is a one which is in front of the zero, isn't it? Right? If there is no, what I mean is, for example, let me see. Do I have, okay, for example, mm, I have 0, 0, 0, 0. What does it equal to? It equals to, it equals to 0, equals to 0. Unless you put a 1 in front. So if I put a 1 in front, then this is not equal to 0. Then this becomes value, right? The one gives value to all the other collections of zeros. So that one is like the devotee of Krishna, to follow the process of bhakti. If one is a devotee, then that is the most important one. That gives value to every other good quality. So Prabhupada says, if one has so many good qualities, but he is not a devotee of the Lord, he is to be understood to have no good qualities. It's a very strong statement, right? But we have to understand it in the absolute sense, in the sense of it, in the sense of uh, eternity, in the sense of how the Supreme Lord is viewing. So if one can be so many wonderful qualities, but if one is not a devotee of the Lord, then it's as good as zero in the eyes of the Lord, right? Because otherwise one is simply developing these qualities for his own purposes, which has nothing to do with pleasing the Supreme Lord. So I hope that is understood clearly, right? So that is important point one should understand. So next, so in this then, let me remove this. So then the Sutta Goswami, the one who's narrating this, he continues with the narration of the activities of Parikshit Maharaj. The Brahmanas inform Yudhishthira Maharaj that besides the qualities of Yudhishthira Maharaj, he also has many activities. So some of the noteworthy activities that they want to mention, so they are mentioning it here. So he will be a performer of many Ashwamedha Yagyas. So Ashwamedha Yagya is one of the most powerful yagyas, and it's usually done by the emperor of the world. So one is an emperor of the world to cement his rule and to ensure prosperity for the entire kingdom for generations. So one performs Ashwamedha Yagya. So he's telling Maharaj Yudhishthira, just like all of you, right? He will also perform Ashwamedha Yagya. So don't worry, he'll be a great king. And not only that, he will be a follower of the elderly and the experienced. Vridhanam Paryupasakaha. So that means he will be someone who is a very nice person. He's, that these days we do not see the quality of respect. In moral, in our school times, the teacher will tell us, Hormatila orang tua tua. Our families would teach us, there's a certain way we address elderly people, elderly family members. In Tamil we will say vanga ponga, we won't say va po, like that. So there is a fine culture which is ingrained in Vedic culture, in Indian culture, where the elders are respected. So this is eroding, and the generation these days, Western qualities have seeped in, and Western qualities has been painted to be very attractive, and these other qualities have been shown to be uncool. So we see that more and more. But in the eyes of the Lord and in the eyes of Dharma, this is a very important quality, because it in fact, somewhere I read in one of the Puranas, it says that if an elderly person approaches you, if you are sitting down, if somebody is sitting down, if an elderly person is approaching you and you continue to sit down and you don't, what will happen is, very poetically, the Puranas explain that all the good qualities, all the good blessings that you have gathered upon yourself, as soon as an elderly person approaches you when you are sitting, these good qualities will rise above you. They will start rising above you. And if you want to catch them back and keep them back inside your body, you have to rise with them. So, in other words, the Purana is explaining that one should stand up with respect when an elderly person approaches. So otherwise, you lose your good qualities. That's the warning of the Puranas. So it's a very nice, even amongst so many people I see. I have a colleague in my office, Chinese man, very very nice person. He will always, and anybody goes to see him in his room, he won't remain seated and talk to you. He will immediately stand up and address that person. So it's a very wonderful sign of respect. It's very subtle, and as a result, he's very well loved. Everybody likes him, and he's a nice personality also, right? One day, hopefully, I'll make him a devotee. Let's see, by Krishna's mercy. So the point here is, respect of elders is very important. The culture has to be ingrained. One shouldn't even raise one's voice against such personalities. So why are elders respected? So elders respected for two reasons. One is because by default they gather experience, so they are more experienced than us, right? That's for one reason. And second reason is, there is a very good chance that they are also more knowledgeable than us. So for two reasons, and that is pleasing to the Lord. So Parikshit Maharaj will be like that. And we also have the next quality. So he says, activity, sorry. And this Parikshit Maharaj will be father of Raja Rishis. Now this is also very important, because as a king, Yudhishthira Maharaj, I remember I mentioned previously in the previous session that Yudhishthira Maharaj is not simply asking the Brahmanas for the astrology of the child. He's not whimsically asking for his own amusement. He is seriously, it's a serious request, because he wants to know the future of the kingdom, because he's a king and the lineage is very important. So therefore he wanted to know whether the lineage will continue. So then the Brahmanas assure him that don't worry, he will be a father of Raja Rishis, not just ordinary children, children who will be saintly and kingly, both qualities, just like Parikshit Maharaj himself will be, and just like Yudhishthira Maharaj. And then one more activity, another important activity, which basically defines the life of Parikshit Maharaj, which we will hear in the chapter 16, 17, 18 of Canto 1 later on. So this one activity, chastiser of upstarts or demons or quarrelsome people for upholding global dharma. So for the purpose of upholding dharma all over the world, he will not shirk away from his duty to immediately chastise anyone who would come and threaten dharma, or anyone who behaves in a quarrelsome manner. So that is a very important aspect for a leader, for a king, So the prosperity of humankind is assured if society moves towards the direction of dharma. If society abandons dharma and moves in some other direction, then society is going to hell, and it's leading the people within it also to hell. So therefore, in the Vedic system of Varnashram, society is very carefully protected. Carefully protected. The family is protected carefully by elders who are steeped in tradition, knowledge, and experience, so that the younger upstarts will not simply break away from the established religion, so, and or the established dharma. So that is lacking nowadays. A lot of people no longer follow the dharma. They don't even know what is dharma. They have given up Vedic culture, even their own personal culture they've given up. They have all embraced westernization, modernization, capitalization, and so forth. And there is not much knowledge. So, society becomes blind leading the blind. So fathers do not pass down this information to their children. Grandparents don't. So this is Arjuna's worry. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning, Arjuna was talking about how he was worried that this war will destroy elders. All the people, elders will be killed, and who will provide, protect, and guide the younger generation? And in result of that, Naradama, all the hellish population will take birth, and they will become so terrible that they will cause the very earth to suffer. So this is the importance of uh, protecting dharma. So Brahmanas in the Varnashram were established who can see dharma, who can visualize very clearly. Their sights are fixed in Brahman, in the Supreme Lord, and they are learned and they have the Brahminical qualities, and their purpose is simply to guide, not to, and to live simply, to have a simple life and to guide. That is their purpose, and to uphold and protect this dharma and protect the brahmanas, the kshatriyas were established. So like that, and then to nourish society, we have the vaishyas, and to serve the other three limbs of society, which is more important, right? We have the shudras. So in this way, society worked seamlessly and towards a worthy goal of dharma, towards pleasing the Supreme Lord. Anyway, so the Brahmanas explained how Parikshit Maharaj will be such a person. So later we will hear how Parikshit Maharaj will chastise the upstarts in later chapters. It will be very important. This will be the reason why Srimad Bhagavatam will be spoken and the beginning of Kali Yuga. We will hear about that in the later chapters. So other activities, here we have a picture of Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. How you can see Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadev Goswami is considered although Sukadev Goswami is younger in terms of Parikshit Maharaj, but in seniority, Sukadev Goswami was more senior than everyone because he actually came from the spiritual world. And he was the son of Vyasadev, and he was Brahman realized, and he knew Srimad Bhagavatam. All the other sages were sitting down listening to him. You can see here how Parikshit Maharaj very respectfully seated below the level of Sukadev Goswami. So he shows the example of respecting the elders and always upholding dharma. So such a personality. So here we have the picture of Parikshit Maharaj. Later we will hear the story of how Parikshit Maharaj encountered Kali. This is the Kali Yuga. The personality of Kali personified encountered Parikshit Maharaj, and how Parikshit Maharaj chastised Kali and protected the world and protected Dharma. So there were two cows. One was a bull, one was cow. The bull represented Dharma, the cow represented the earth. So this Kali was attacking both Dharma and the earth. So Parikshit Maharaj protected Dharma and earth and gave Kali also a place to stay. So later we will hear about this, not today, but when we come to chapters 16, 17, 18, which is not too far away. So then we've heard about his qualities, we've heard about his activities. Now we will hear about his death. So that's interesting because normally when some child is born, the parents don't like to hear about death. So, they go to astrologer, the astrologer will say all the nice things only. He won't say anything bad. All the dosham all he won't mention. But actually death is very important because the life is simply preparation for the exam. The exam of life is death. The manner of death, the consciousness that one has at the time of death, what one is doing, what one is thinking, what one is feeling, that is the exam of life. Right? So lifetime is a preparation, death is the examination. So therefore, death is also very important. And nowadays, astrologers won't tell you or can't tell you I don't know. A lot of bogus astrologers sometimes. So it's a very important point, and you can see the Vedic culture was such that nobody will say, "Oh, Choi, oh, why are you saying such bad things? No need to talk about that. This is birth of a child." Nobody will think like that. Everybody understand birth and death is part of life, and it's nothing inauspicious to speak about death. In fact, it is auspicious to understand how one should attain, what should one do, because death is not the end. Death is simply the end of one dream. This particular life continues. The soul continues its journey. So we will hear about the death, and not just unlike the materialist who only know death and they don't know anything after death, right? The spiritualist, the Vedic society, the Aryan society knew that there is something beyond death, right? So that the soul is eternal. They understood about this. So therefore they hear about, they wanted to, Yudhishthira Maharaj also, they knew Yudhishthira Maharaj would want to know about this. And the Brahmanas easily, without any kind of qualm, they started talking about Parikshit Maharaj's death, even as a child, a baby. So this is a nice verse. Takshakad atmano mrityum dvija putropasarjitat prapatsyata upasritya mukta sanga padam harehi. After hearing about his death, caused by the bite of a snake bird, sent by a son of a Brahmana. Snake bird. What's a snake bird? So, snake bird is actually a very fearsome creature. Uh, it's this particular snake bird is called Takshaka. So you can see here Takshaka. Takshaka Atmano Mrityum. The cause of his death, his own death, Mrityum means death, will be Takshaka. The bite of the Takshaka. Takshaka is a snake bird. It's basically a terrible snake, poisonous snake, which can fly. Now imagine that. Prabhupada says these snakes are there. There are some, even some cobras, very, very old cobras, they are able to fly, it seems. They are all descendants of Takshaka. They're very rare, but it's there. I have not seen one, so but Prabhupada has mentioned that. So anyway, so even some snakes they carry gems in their forehead, right? Sometimes it's hidden inside. So Nagamani they call it. So there are some legends, but it's legends founded based on scripture. Not so common nowadays in Kali Yuga, but then rarely it is possible to find. So anyway, this Takshaka, long story, we won't talk about that, but that we will discuss later in a different chapter. But the point is, the death will occur due to the bite of this Takshaka. He has been cursed. How he's been cursed? This Takshaka bird was sent by a son of a Brahmana. So that's very interesting also, because we can see how Parikshit Maharaj, who is famous throughout his life as one who was protected from the most dangerous situation one can ever face, which is the Brahmastra weapon, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, none other, and thus he earned the name Vishnu Rata. In an impossible situation, the Supreme Lord himself saved him. You can imagine how this great personality of great qualities is going to die simply by a bite of a creature sent by a Brahmana boy. Now, in terms of hierarchy of beings who are powerful in the universe, right? Brahmana boy is not one who is very much in the top 10 also. Of course, we have Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, so many powerful personalities, and Brahmanas, powerful Brahmanas. This one here is an immature boy, an immature child of a Brahmana. A Brahmana, but he's a Brahmana nevertheless. But he is still a child. And such a person could release a curse which could kill such a great personality. How is it possible? So, very interesting point. So that we can, this purposely they say like that. to invoke our curiosity, but the curiosity will be answered in later chapters. But doesn't matter. This verse is important because it is reminding us it doesn't matter the manner of death. The death can be as fearsome as it possibly can. What is the most scariest death? For me personally, I have nightmares about being eaten by sharks. It's some kind of phobia I think I got from my past life or what. So anyway, when I was young, I watched the movie Jaws and I got nightmares. So that's my phobia. So I've said it. But people have different fears. Like some people are claustrophobic, to be crushed to death. Some people are having all kinds of fears of death. So here, this is very scary death, to be bitten, to be chased and bitten by such a fearsome creature. It's very scary. So it doesn't matter how scary one's death is. It doesn't matter the manner of death. What matters is what one attains after death. So this verse is important to remind us of that. And what will Parikshit Maharaj attain? He will attain Mukta Sangha. He will attain, he will get himself freed, Mukta Sangha, liberated from the material contamination. He will be liberated. He will get himself freed from all material attachment, right? And Padam Hare, he will attain the lotus feet of Hari, which is the ultimate purpose of life. So, despite the manner of his death, which is probably number one hierarchy in the fearsome ways to die, nevertheless, he attains the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So, it's a very important point for us to understand and to, to think about it very deeply. So devotees don't care the type of manner they die. Devotees may die due to accident. Devotees, remember I once mentioned in the previous session, devotees are not covered by karma. They are, whatever that's happening to them is directly yoga maya. It is by the will of the Lord. So devotees may die in different ways, but the consciousness of a pure devotee is never deviated, and he will attain the highest position. So he can die during the day, during the night, during auspicious time or inauspicious time, or in a different way, in a bad way. It doesn't matter. No matter what you do to the body, also it doesn't matter whether the body underwent any rites, any samskaras. It doesn't matter. The Lord completely takes care. That is the special benediction of one who becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. The Lord completely gives immunity, completely gives protection. Padam Hari. So that's another way to understand Padam Hari. Padam Hari is complete protection of the Lord for that person, no matter what the danger is. So nice to hear about that. And then Brahmana continues saying, this is Srila Prabhupada's purport, which I wanted to share. Okay, here, this verse. Jignati Satma Yathartyo Muner Vyasa Sutat Asho Hitvedam Nripa Gangayam Yasyati Adha Kuto Bhayam. After inquiring about the proper self, so what did he do? After once, the moment he knew about the curse, the moment he knew he was about to die, what did he do? After inquiring, so he gave up his kingdom, he gave up his position. Immediately he seeked out devotees, learned personalities, learned sages, and he inquired about the duty of those persons who are about to die. What is the duty of the person about to die? He wasn't worried about counteracting the curse. How can I continue living? So it's a wonderful mystery. We will hear about this, as I said, in the later chapters, which is the reason. Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. So very nice way Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken, just like every other scripture, right? When Ramayana was spoken, okay, never mind, I don't want to go into that. We don't have enough time. Maybe some other time. Like when Bhagavad Gita was spoken, there was unhappiness, isn't it? Arjuna was put into unhappiness. He was very, very unhappy in a situation of terrible anxiety about the fight, big war about to happen. So, in such a situation, Srimad Bhagavad Gita blossomed. And in this situation, Parikshit Maharaj cursed that clock is ticking 7 days before such a horrible death. Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken. And then same thing with Ramayana. There's a story where anyway, some very sad incident happened, and Valmiki Muni, seeing that sad situation, he uttered a verse, and the verse was in a unique meter, a unique poetic meter, which was never uttered before. So, and it happened. It was born out of his, he was born out of this misery. The situation was very miserable. So he said, from Soga, Sloka has come. Soka means misery. From misery, Sloka was born. So he used that same Sloka which he uttered in misery for Ramayana. And in the same way, Bhagavad Gita, from Soka, right, from Arjuna's Soka, from misery, Bhagavad Gita was born. So, and in this situation, with Parikshit Maharaj's curse, Srimad Bhagavatam is born. So it's very nice. So the lesson is, in every bad situation, always look for the silver lining. Always look for the hand of God. Always look for what is the blessing. How can I pass this test with flying colors in the eyes of the Lord? So it's a nice meditation to think about. So this particular verse, after inquiring about proper self-knowledge from the son of Vyasadeva, Sukadev Goswami. So Sukadev Goswami, he's a great philosopher who will become a great personality, great philosopher. So he inquired about self-realization from him. And after inquiring, what will he do? He will renounce all material attachment in his heart. Already, bodily, he has already renounced. He gave up his kingdom, he gave up his life, and he sat down by the banks of the Ganga to hear Srimad Bhagavatam narration by Sukadev Goswami. But as he heard Sukadev Goswami's narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, in his heart and in his mind, he renounced all material attachment completely and achieved a life of Akuto Abhayam. Abhayam means fearlessness. So this is what Srimad Bhagavatam can give us. It can give one fearlessness of all things, fearlessness of death, fearlessness of what will come after death. Because what will come is assured. Hari Padam, Padam Hari, the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So this is the wonderful scripture. So Srila Prabhupada's purport, he says, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can get free from material attachment and enter into the kingdom of fearlessness, into Vaikuntha Loka. There is no misery, there is no fearlessness. So that is what we get by regularly hearing and serving Srimad Bhagavatam. So then we continue. Thus the Vipra Jataka Kovidaha advised King Yudhishthira about the future of his child. So Vipra is another meaning for Brahmana. Actually, when we say Brahmana, there are three categories of Brahmana. I'll come to that. Okay. But what happened is the Brahmanas advised King Yudhishthira in this way about the future of this child. So what did we hear? We heard about the astrology, his qualities, what he will do, and then how he will meet, what will happen in his death, and what he will attain after that death. So Prabhupada says the Vedas are the storehouse knowledge, both material and spiritual. So Vedas is given to us, it's like the manual of the universe. We have come to this universe. So in order for us to understand it, the manual is given, right? So the Vedas is that. So it has both material knowledge for us to perfectly understand material world, and it also has spiritual knowledge for us to transcend the material world. So So, but ultimately, both material and spiritual knowledge is in the mode of goodness, aimed towards self-realization. So Prabhupada says these knowledge are aimed towards perfection of self-realization. The specific intelligent class of men who were devoted particularly to the knowledge of the Vedas were called the Vipras, or the graduates of the Vedic knowledge. So when we say Brahmana, actually the correct term is not Brahmana. The correct term is Dvija. Dvija means one who is twice born. Dvi means two. Aja means born. So Dvi Aja or Dvija, one who is twice born. So what does that mean? First birth is from the seminal parent, right? The father and the mother. Every being has a father and a mother. So that's the first birth. Second birth is through initiation. So when one goes through initiation, especially Brahmin initiation, particularly Brahmin initiation, then in ISKCON is like the second initiation. Huh? So that one, the father is the spiritual master, and the mother is Gayatri mantra. So with Gayatri mantra is the mother, and the father is the spiritual master. So one develops the second birth. So that's why after initiation, one is usually given a different name. So so that is what is called a Dvija. Now Dvija has two categories: a Vipra and what is called a Brahmana. So a Vipra is somebody who understands the Vedic knowledge, who has knowledge, right? Particularly devoted, particularly to the knowledge of the Vedas, right? They are intelligent, right? And they know how to basically do karma kanda activities. So in the Vedas, there are many, many categories. Like in the four Vedas, there is the Brahmana, Samhita, then there's the Aranyaka, and there's the Upanishad. The ritualistic activities are fruitive activities or karma kanda, which is in the Brahmana and the Samhita section. So this Vipra is one who is expert in conducting fire sacrifices, rituals, samskaras, all that he's very good at. But he doesn't understand spiritual knowledge. He doesn't fully understand the meaning of all these sacrifices. So that is just Vipra, right? Whereas a Brahmana, he understands the higher spiritual knowledge behind this. So, Jnana Kanda, that means one who understands knowledge behind the purpose. So, that is called a Brahmana. Both are Dvija. Vipra, Brahmana, both are Dvija. So, the two categories are Vipra and Brahmana, like this. But there is also somebody who is sometimes known as a Brahmana or a Dvija, but actually he's not. So this is called a Dvija Bandhu or a Dvija Sutta. Dvija Bandhu means friend of a Brahmana. Bandhu means friend, or Sutta means son of a Brahmana. Now one can be a son of a Brahmana, but he may not have the qualifications of a Brahmana. Just like if you are a son of a doctor, does that mean you have the qualifications of a doctor? No, right? One has to go through training. Being born as a doctor's son gives you the maybe some facilities to go in that direction of training, but only if the person agrees to be trained. So in the same way, born as a Brahmana son doesn't mean that that person is a Brahmana. It's not based on birth. It's based on guna and karma, activity and nature, qualities. So it needs to be trained. So Dvija Bandhu, so like in Kali Yuga especially, there are no more Brahmanas. Very rarely you'll find Brahmanas. Those who call themselves Brahmanas, the caste Brahmanas, oh, my family is Brahmana and all that. So they are what we call Dvija Bandhus, no, or Dvija Suttas. They came from the family, but they don't have the qualities of a Brahmana. They neither have the qualities, neither do they follow the activities of a Brahmana. So they cannot be called Brahmana. So a Brahmana who is more, this particular Brahmana, the Dvija and the Brahmana, who is more matured, who has realized deeper meaning, so he becomes renounced. So he takes up Upashana Kanda, which is more philosophical. So he realizes his knowledge and he develops detachment. So that is Brahmana. But a Brahmana's vision is only Brahman. Who is a Brahmana? One who knows Brahman. Brahma Ana. It's one who understands Brahman. But Brahman is just the preliminary understanding of the Supreme Lord. To understand everything is spirit. Yeah, I'm spirit. There is the Lord is spirit. Everything is spirit. The material energy is spirit. But we should understand there is Para Brahman. So Brahmana does not see Parabrahman. When a Brahmana sees Parabrahman, then he is called Vaishnava. So, in other words, a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. A Vaishnava is already a Vipra, right? So, a Vaishnava is already Dvija. So, that is the understanding. If one is a pure devotee of the Lord, whether or not he knows karma kanda sacrifices, it doesn't matter because he has attained the highest, the goal of all these other things, the purpose of all that. So that is Vaishnava. So this is an important point also we should understand. Prabhupada explains this nicely in his purport. I have tried to put models here like this for our understanding. So then being sumptuously remunerated, they all return to their respective homes. So these Brahmanas, these Brahmanas who were speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj, they were like Vipras. They were Karma Kanda and some of them were Brahmanas like Jnana Kanda. So they understood the science of astrology. So that's why they were able to explain this nicely to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yudhishthira Maharaj did not fully understand the science of astrology, but still he was higher than even those Brahmanas because he was Vaishnava, he was Raja Rishi, a saintly being. So that is the position, right? This is how we understand this. Okay, so moving on, coming close to the end slowly. So his son would become famous in the world as Parikshit. So after hearing the astrological reading of the Brahmanas, now we go back to the narration of Suta Goswami telling the story of Parikshit Maharaj to the sages in Naimisaranya forest. So he's telling them, so after hearing the Brahmanas, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he became very happy. So he knew that his son would become famous in the world as Parikshit. So the name Parikshit comes from the word Pariksha. Pariksha, in Malay we have the word Papariksaan. It comes from the word Pariksha. So one who takes the Pariksha is called Parikshit, examiner. So why is he called Parikshit? The verse explains, because he would come to Pariksheta, examine all human beings in his search after that personality whom he saw before his birth. Remember Parikshit Maharaj in the womb, he once saw the supreme personality of Godhead. And we heard about the description of that personality. Brilliant form, shiny golden dhoti, decorated with conch, gada, lotus flower. So very, very beautiful. And the child never forgot that vision. And after he came out from the womb, from the moment of his birth till the end of his life, he was always searching for that personality which he saw in the womb. Where is that personality? So he will examine, he will see, he will try to find the divinity in every person that he sees. So that's another wonderful way of understanding this. He will see divinity in every person that he sees, trying to see that supreme personality of Godhead. Because Paramatma is there, right, in everyone's heart. Thus, he would come to constantly contemplate upon him. So, this is the nature of Parikshit Maharaj. As the moon in its waxing fortnight develops day after day, how does the moon develop? From small, it becomes brighter and brighter and brighter until Paurnami, right? In the same way, the Rajaputra very soon developed luxuriantly Apuriyamana, Purna. Puriyamana means fully developed luxuriously under the care and full facilities of his parents and grandparents. Basically, Pitra. Pitra means the guardians, his parents, family. So, who are they? The Pandavas, none other than the Pandavas himself. So, another important point, if parents are devotees, right, and they are dedicated towards devotional service, they will very carefully bring up their children in spiritual life. So, under such an arrangement, if one is born with such parenthood, then one is considered very, 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 very fortunate. So, because he gets all facilities to, from the very young child itself, to quickly develop remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, uh, it's a nice boon. Bhagavad Gita. What does Bhagavad Gita say about those who are born in parents of devotees? Right? There's a verse, isn't it? uh, Arjuna will ask, my doubt in chapter 2, what happens to those who are not successful as yogis, who are not successful in the spiritual life? What happens to them? No fear, because they will take birth again under such parents, right? So that is the point. Even great demigods, even devatas are always looking for opportunities to take birth on earth in a family of devotees so that they can continue their devotion. So just at this time, uh, King Yudhishthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from sins. So all this is done already. The child is born already. So at this time, it so happened now the Bhagavatam is explaining what was happening at the same time. So this was the time when Yudhishthira Maharaj was performing or considering performing a horse sacrifice. So we heard about this in earlier chapters. Yudhishthira Maharaj, right after the Mahabharata war, he was overwhelmed with depression. This was another act of Yoga Maya. Krishna purposely put Yudhishthira Maharaj in illusion. So that's another beautiful thing. King Yudhishthira Maharaj was purposely put into illusion so that the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata, Bhishma Dev's wonderful instruction of Dharma, would be given. So, because of Yudhishthira Maharaj's depression, it eventually led to the situation where they all went to the battle place where Bhishma Dev was lying down, and they requested Bhishma Dev to soothe Yudhishthira Maharaj, because Yudhishthira Maharaj couldn't be pacified. Narada Muni couldn't pacify, Vyasadev couldn't pacify, even Krishna apparently couldn't pacify. So all this is part of the arrangement of the Lord. We heard about this already. We heard about the reasons and the chapters behind. If you go back to Bhishma, right, chapter 9, I think, the passing of Bhishma Dev in the beginning. So there we will hear about that. So the point was, it was to glorify Bhishma, and it was also to let Bhishma speak about the dharma of all the different dharmas in the world very, very nicely. So yeah. So anyway, so this was happening. Yudhishthira Maharaj was feeling depressed, and he was about to, after hearing from Bhishma Dev, he came back, and he was instructed by, advised by Krishna to perform horse sacrifice in order to clear away all inauspiciousness, to remove all the sins of the fighting and kinsmen, so that a prosperous kingdom can be established. So this was during that time. So at that time, the Bhagavatam describes Yudhishthira Maharaj was anxious to get some wealth, because yagyas are not cheap. Even nowadays yagyas certainly are not cheap, but those days yagyas were a grand affair. And to have Ashwamedha Yagya, you needed so much of wealth, and it was not enough, whatever there was in the kingdom. So Prabhupada here makes a comment. So here it says animal sacrifice, horse sacrifice. So animals offered for the yagya were rejuvenated to a new span of life by the transcendental power of chanting the Vedic hymns. The Veda mantras are all practical, and the proof is rejuvenation of the sacrificed animal. So this is not sinful. So it is not the same as animal killing. This is animal sacrifice. So by when a soul goes through an animal's body, it's not a pleasant experience. It's actually suffering. So, and they have to go through an evolution of different bodies before they finally come to a human body. So when an animal is sacrificed, it straight away achieves a saintly human body. It skips through the evolution process, and it that is one way. Another outcome is the animal immediately becomes young again. So it's actually a rejuvenation of the animal. So it is not sin, it is not violence. So that was what was done in animal sacrifice in those days. So whatever animal sacrifice mentioned in Vedas is referring to this. But in Kali Yuga, animal sacrifice is prohibited. Cannot One cannot perform animal sacrifice. It's forbidden in the Vedas. It's mentioned there, right? Why? Because in Kali Yuga there are no longer Brahmanas. Because in those days, the Brahmanas, simply by reciting mantra, they can light the fire. The fire, simply by calling a certain name of Agni, the fire is invoked. They don't have to use matchstick or the lighter, whatever it is, like how we do nowadays. So that is the indication of proper yagya. So nowadays, yagya no longer has that potency. This kind of yagyas no longer have the potency. So it is not the dharma of Kali Yuga. So anyway, before we come to that, so understanding that lots of wealth is needed, understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers as advised by Krishna, Achyuta, one who is infallible, can never be, one who never disappoints, one who never is defeated, infallible, one of Krishna's names, Achyuta. So understanding the hearty wishes of his brothers as advised by Krishna, Achyuta, they collected sufficient riches from the north left by King Maruta. So Krishna advised them where to find such wealth. So there's lots of hidden wealth in the world from ancient times, and certain people will know. So of course, Lord Krishna knew all the secrets. So he told them where to go. So actually, there was a mountain of gold in the Himalayan ranges. There was a mountain, just the entire mountain was gold. So it's a long story. If you read Prabhupada's purport, he will tell you the story of King Maruta, how he got this mountain of gold, and it was so big, not enough, too much. So he left it there for people to take. So Krishna told the location to the Pandavas, and Arjuna went and collected this mountain of gold and brought it back so that the Ashwamedha Yagya could be performed. So the success of particular type of sacrifice completely depends on the priest in charge. So very important. Any kind of upachara, samskara, it depends very much on the priest. So as far as possible, we should find a devotee priest, right? One who is a devotee, one who is simple, one who embodies the Brahminical quality. In this age, all kinds of sacrifice are forbidden, particularly animal sacrifice, because there is no learned priest among the so-called Brahmanas. Why so-called? Because most of them are simply born as Brahmanas, but they don't imbibe the qualities of Brahmanas, and neither do they follow the occupation of Brahmanas. So that is needed. Who go by the false notion of becoming sons of Brahmanas, so Brahmana Sutta, without Brahminical qualification. So that's the problem. Of course, there are a few, but it's not easy for us to see who is and who is not. So very, very risky. So therefore, in this age of Kali, only one kind of sacrifice is recommended. Sankirtan Yagya. That is also sacrifice. And this is the Maha Yagya, which is the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga, as inaugurated by Lord Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So simply by chanting, so that's why in fine, we want to do yagyas, we want to do samskaras, but the actual samskara is actually, the actual yagya is the chanting of the holy names. So in anything that we do, insert the chanting of the holy name, then it becomes all successful. Two important things, three actually. Get a devotee or a pure person, somebody who's, number two, insert chanting of the Maha Mantra wherever possible. And number three, have prasadam given to all the people who come. So then this is the success of any samskara. Anything else, any other details, that those details are optional, right? The three important thing which is not optional is what I just mentioned just now. So that is the correct understanding. So by those riches, the king could procure the ingredients for 3 horse sacrifices. Thus, Dharmaputra, so the word Dharmaputra is used. So this is to indicate that whatever Yudhishthira Maharaj does is not adharmic, even though it may seem so, like killing animals for sacrifice. It's not. It is actually Dharma, because he is Dharmaputra, son of Dharma, Yudhishthira Maharaj. So thus Dharmaputra, who was very fearful after the battle of Kurukshetra, because he was put into illusion by Krishna, I mentioned earlier. In this way, by performing these yagyas in the right manner, in the right way, he pleased Lord Hari. So this is the purpose of all yagyas. This is the purpose of all samskaras, to please Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Sam yagyat harim. By these yagyas, one pleases Hari. So Prabhupada comments, in life, in human life, there are many unintentional sins which we commit in our daily occupational duties and discharge of duties, right? So many, just by walking, we kill so many creatures. Just by breathing, we kill so many germs or whatever. By lighting a fire, cooking, we kill creatures near the fire stove, right? By grinding mortar, you know, but we also kill so many living creatures, sometimes accidentally, but it's necessary. Small insects. So therefore, to counteract all these unintentional sins, a householder or a grahastha, and particularly a king, is enjoined to perform yagya every day, sacrifices for the pleasure of the Lord, so that as a side effect, our sins get counteracted. So that is the purpose. One has to perform yagya. In those days, if you see Ramayana, the sages will always be performing fire sacrifices every day. But it's no longer practical in Kali Yuga. Imagine, you perform a fire sacrifice before you go to work every day. So it's not practical, no longer. Therefore, the yagya for Kali Yuga is chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So to counteract this, one must perform sacrifices as they are recommended in the revealed scriptures. And also in the Bhagavad Gita, we have this verse, right? Yajnartat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tat artam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So this is one performs sacrifices, but what should be the mentality? What should be the consciousness when we perform these sacrifices? It should be done for the sacrifice of pleasing Vishnu, right? So similarly, when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra also, our consciousness is, I'm chanting for your pleasure, O Lord, right? This is a service. Chanting is a service. So that is also, it is a wonderful purifying service. So that is yagya. And what it will do, it will release us from bondage in this material world. Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties, carry out your yagyas every day. One should have yagyas, one should have sacrifices. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. So that's why we have to chant Hare Krishna every day. And we have to chant a prescribed set of rounds, right? Ideally, we should chant 16 rounds, but we should have a plan to come to that level, step by step by step. So if there is a will, there is a way. And all kinds of people are doing it from all parts of the world, from Africans to Chinese to Koreans to Indonesians to Thai people to Russians to Americans to French people to English people. Everyone, they are chanting. There are people, there are devotees amongst all of these people from all walks of life, from politicians. Hema Malini, for example, she's a devotee now, a famous actress last time. Now she's a politician. She's Hare Krishna. She's chanting Hare Krishna. George Harrison, famous pop star, Beatles, right? He chanted Hare Krishna. Models who became devotees, they chanted Hare Krishna. Sports people, uh, occupation, normal people who go through normal occupation, engineers, doctors, lawyers. So if every one of them can chant, parents, children, grandparents, so why can't we? So it's just a matter of priority. So speak to devotees, have association of devotees, and we can easily do it here every day, and we will get the motivation to also continue chanting every day. So Prabhupada says the process of performing sacrifices may be different in terms of different times, place, and persons, but the aim of such sacrifice is one and the same at all times and in all circumstances. That is to say, satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Hari. That is the way of pious life, and that is the way of peace and prosperity in the world at large. So that is what is lacking. So therefore, the Hare Krishna movement is dedicated, the only movement in the world which is dedicated to performing yagyas. What kind of yagyas? Sankirtan yagyas, which is the practical and prescribed yagya for Kali Yuga. Let any man of any place or community, caste or creed be engaged in any sort of occupational duty. So we can be in any duty, any community, but he must agree to perform sacrifices as it is recommended in the scripture for the particular place, time, and person. And that is chanting the Mahamantra. In the Vedic literature, it is recommended that in Kali Yuga, people engage in glorifying the Lord by chanting the holy names of Krishna. Kirtanad eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajed, without offense. Right? So there are many places in the Vedic scriptures, in Bhagavatam, right? We have the Kali Santarana Upanishad, we have the Brihad Narayana Upanishad, Brihad Narayana Purana. So like that, Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nashti, Kalau Nashti, Kalau Nashti Eva Gati Ranyataha. In this age of Kali, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. Can you imagine? 3 times they say like that in the scripture. This is to enter into our thick heads of the humanity at large. This is the means of being happy in this life and in the next. Such a method requires no expenditure and at all, and yet can award more benefit than other expensive methods of yagya performance. So this is the ultimate yagya. Once, when installing Krishna Balaram Mandir, the deities were being installed, the devotees hired some priests from South India, because the devotees at that time were all new, all Westerners. So they got some priests from South India, Sri Vaishnava priests also. They asked them to come and do some elaborate yagyas to establish the deities. But while they were doing, Prabhupada told the devotees, the Western devotees, they are doing their yagya, you do your yagya. Chant Hare Krishna. And then they were chanting Hare Krishna loudly while the yagya was going on. And then later Prabhupada told them, actually the real yagya is what you all did. The other yagya is just for show, because people will not have faith. If we simply chant, most people will think that, oh, this movement is not bona fide. What is this? Where's the yagya? Where's the fire sacrifice? So, since that is also mentioned in scripture, that is also nice. We can have the yagya, but actually, the real yagya is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, even if that yagya wasn't there, simply if you were chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then that is enough. So that is the faith in scripture that we must have, the faith in the holy name. Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, being invited to the sacrifices by Maharaj Yudhishthira, saw to it that they were performed by qualified dvijas. After that, for the pleasure of the relatives, the Lord remained a few months. So it's important for upacharas to be performed by qualified priests. The Lord himself ensured that the qualified priests were performing the yagyas. So can you imagine how important these yagyas are? How the type of priest that we need to look for? So the once born science, the children of the Brahmanas are equal, are just like Shudras. They are not the same as Brahmanas, Prabhupada says. They must be trained as Brahmanas. They must follow the lifestyle of Brahmanas. Then they are Brahmanas. So any such Brahma Bandhus or unqualified once born children of Brahmanas, science, must be rejected for any purpose of religious or Vedic function. So that will not do. We need to find the Brahmanas who are living the life of Brahmanas. So, O Shaunaka, therefore the Lord having bade farewell, having bade farewell, the word is this Sanskrit word, taking permission to King Yudhishthira, Draupadi and other relatives. So very interesting, isn't it? So we see the etiquette of the Lord. How the Lord also, just like how Parikshit Maharaj was so careful to respect elders, look at how Lord Krishna is careful to preserve etiquette. Even though he's the Supreme Lord, he took permission from the king before he departed. So this is wonderful etiquette. Even in our Indian culture, we have this. We will say "Peitu vare," when we leave a relative's house. This kind of nice ways of saying it. And then the Lord left for the city of Dwaraka. So we've already heard that in previous chapters, how the Lord left, big spectacle, right? And how he was received in Dwaraka, another big spectacle. We already heard all these things. So in this chapter is tying up all the events together. And at this time, Parikshit Maharaj was also born. So that is the end of this chapter. So we heard about Parikshit Maharaj's inquiries from the Brahmanas, the glories of Parikshit Maharaj saved in the womb, how Parikshit Maharaj's birth and samskaras were carried out, the astrology of Parikshit Maharaj, and the events that happened, the yagya and all that, the tying up of all the events, Krishna leaving for Dwaraka. So that concludes chapter 12. And then we will move on to another interesting chapter in chapter 13. Okay, so we will stop here. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, devotees? Anyone? Anything you want to ask?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah.
Prabhu, referring to chapter 1, chapter 12, text 24.
You have the text?
Yeah, I have chapter 1, chapter 12, text 24.
Chapter 12. Okay, text 34.
24. It is stated that as with one can achieve 78% of godly qualities by the Lord in intimate association.
Yep.
What does it mean, Prabhu?
It means, okay, your question is, Prabhu, how can we achieve the qualities of the Lord by intimate association, right?
Yeah, the 78 qualities.
78%. Yeah, 78 qualities. So it said that living entities, there is living entity, there's Jiva Tattva, there is Shiva Tattva, and there is Vishnu Tattva. So Lord Vishnu is the reservoir of all qualities. So it's mentioned, I think, 96 something qualities, particularly.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. And then Lord Shiva has about 80 something qualities. And the best
Brahma,
of the
76.
Yeah, the best
Brahma is 70 something.
Yeah, Brahma is 70 something. The best of the Jiva, who is the best of the Jiva? Lord Brahma. He's the representative of all the Jivas. So he has 70 something qualities. So a Jivatma, no matter how wonderful he is, he can only attain those up to 74 qualities only. He cannot go beyond that. What are the qualities beyond that? The qualities beyond that are like Lord Shiva. He can give liberation. So that is one of the qualities of Lord Shiva. Jiva Tattva cannot do that. And then Lord Shiva can destroy the universe. So that's another thing Jiva Tattva cannot do. So like that, there are other qualities which only the Supreme Lord and Lord Shiva could do. And Lord Shiva also, some other qualities he cannot do. Where else, like for example, Lord Vishnu can perform other qualities. Like he can activate material energy. So he is the master of all Shaktis. So these are additional qualities of Lord Vishnu. And Lord Krishna has even extra qualities than Lord Vishnu. He has 4 extra
100.
qualities. Yeah,
100.
correct. He has 4 extra qualities. Venu Madhurya, Tribanga Madhurya, and another 2 more, I can't remember. These qualities, one is the flute. The flute is all attractive. It can attract all creatures, all living entities, all entities, including even Lord Shiva. And one is his 3-bended form. His beauty is matchless. When he stands in the 3-bended Tribanga form, in the bent form, holding his flute, he becomes extremely attractive. No living entity can resist. So like that, there are some qualities Lord Krishna only has. No other person can have.
Okay,
So anyway,
about that.
yeah.
Sorry.
So anyway, for the Jivas, the Jiva have these 76 qualities. By association of other saintly beings, they can develop these qualities one by one, and they can come to that maximum 76.
So Jivas can achieve 78 qualities.
Yes.
Oh.
Mm.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
All
And
right.
one more question, Prabhu.
Yeah.
The Srimad Bhagavatam, let's take Ramayana. Ramayana happened in Treta Yoga.
Mm.
And Mahabharatam in Draupadi Yoga.
Mm.
But Srimad Bhagavatam, they always refer Ramayana. Does people aware of all these, Prabhu, at the time?
Yes. People know the future. There are three. What's the word? There's a word they use for three Sandhya or something. Those who can see the past, present, and future. There are few people who could do that. Lord Brahma is,
Yasudev is one of them.
yes, Lord Brahma, Vyasadev, Lord Shiva, a few people who can see that, and I think Valmiki Muni also. So they can see the future, they can see the past, they can see the present. That's why
Okay,
it's
Prabhu.
mentioned.
My last question, Prabhu. Canto 1, chapter 13. Text 30. It says sannyasis accept the rod, accept the rod. The Mayavadis, they are single rod. Vaishnavas, they get triple. But I see our temple, they only have single rod, Prabhu.
No. It's inside. You open the cloth, you see it's inside got 3. It's
Oh.
three sticks all tied together very tightly. So it looks like a single rod.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
That's why it's called Tridanda, Tridandi.
Yeah, Tridandi.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much for clearing.
Okay, sure.
Clearing my doubt.
Any other questions from anybody else? No? Okay. So anyway, as usual, any questions are welcome. You can send it to me in the WhatsApp. Happy to answer. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening for Srimad Bhagavatam. Once again, please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Bol. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.